Hey everyone, Steven here, and welcome to my little library of horrors. So a little bit over a year ago, I made a video called 100 Horror Books by 100 Different Authors, sort of as a celebration after reaching a certain milestone on my Instagram page where I showcased 100 different horror books by 100 different authors. After that, I kind of was like, maybe now I can kind of just go on to posting what I wanted, repeat authors, books part of series, stuff like that. But as I was kind of starting to get the ball rolling again, I was noticing that I have a pretty clear path to another 100 different authors and 100 different books, so why not? And here we are. I gone ahead and showcased 100 different books by 100 different authors again. So yeah, here's a video to celebrate that. Yeah, so I won't spend too much time rambling. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll go ahead and link that in the description below. Before I get started, it would mean everything to me if you could drop a quick like on the video. Even though I don't really edit anything or anything like that, videos like this tend to take a lot of time and effort with pulling the books from the shelves, listing them, getting them ready to showcase, taking the thumbnail. It's a lot of effort, in which I enjoy, of course. But yeah, anyway, if you could just drop a quick like on the video, I'd super appreciate it. But without further ado, I've got my water, I've got 100 books, and let's get started. Oh, I do plan on showcasing these in reverse alphabetical order. I was going to do alphabetical, but the way I stack them, it's just going to be easier to do reverse alphabetical. There's probably going to be a mistake or two in there. If it's not alphabetical, I tried, but I've been dying to get this video out. So anyway, enough rambling. First up, we have The Witching by Chet Hagan. Really love this cover. And I've been dying to get into some witch horror. Like, I don't really think I've ever read any witch horror, to be honest. So, if any of you know any good witch recommendations, please feel free to drop a comment down below and let me know. I'm dying to get into it. Next up, we have Wireman by Billy Sue Mosiman. Another very cool cover. This sounds kind of like a fictional true crime book. Definitely sounds really good. I want to get to this. Might actually even buy a copy for my sister to read because, she loves true crime and stuff like that. So I think that'd be something up her alley. Let's see. Next up, I have Winter Wolves by Earl Westcott. Nice metallic cover there. I think recently I've seen my friend Henry post that he's read this and it was actually really good. I think it was Henry. I can't really remember. Henry, if you have read this and you see this, feel free to let everybody know what you think down below. But it sounds really interesting. Let's see. Next up we have Winter Chill by Joanne Fluke. Again, one of my favorite covers in my collection. As I get the shakes. That's the coffee. But I do have a review of this up on my channel. I'll leave a link to the video in the description if you guys want to check that out. Next up, bit of a controversial pick, I think. Because I remember kind of bringing it up in conversation one time. And while I personally was like, I don't know if you would consider this a horror book, a lot of people kind of jumped on and was like, definitely would consider that a horror book. So, next up is Where the Wild Things Are by Maury Sendak. So, a lot of people were like, that scene where the monsters like threaten to eat Max was like really scary as a kid to them and stuff like that. So, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and include it in there. Let's see. Next up, we have Where Are the Children by Mary Higgins Clark. Beautiful cover. If you've been watching the channel for a little bit, you know how much I love my houses on my covers, so Just so ominous. Like I said, this is super simple, but very effective. Instantly grabs my attention. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll go into detail about why houses kind of freak me out, but that's not the video for this. It's going to be long enough as it is. Next up is Whatever Happened to Baby Jane by Henry Farrell. Not the greatest cover, honestly. Like, it kind of reminds me of Naomi's Room by Jonathan Aycliffe, where the cover, like, almost has nothing to do with the story. I haven't read the story, so I don't know if that's the case, but the title and the cover just seems to kind of juxtapose each other way too much. But, yeah. Next we have Wet Work by Philip Nutman. Definitely a cool cover. And this is honestly like one of the most unique zombie books I've ever read. The story is incredibly good. The characters are, I don't want to say unique, but like they're interesting, they're engaging. Yeah, definitely check it out. I have a review on the channel. I'll also leave a link to this one down below. But yeah, definitely worth checking out. If you want a unique take on the zombie genre, that's definitely the way to go. Next up, we have Welcome Back to the Night by Elizabeth Massey. Now, this is a really nice cover for something that came out post-2000s. You know, it's definitely a little more on the computerized side, but it still has that personality of, you know, still trying to be artistic. Excuse me. But I believe this is part of a trilogy, if I'm not mistaken. But next up is The True Bride by Thomas Altman. Nice classic cover there. Okay, next is The Trident by Joel Hamill. Now, this is a book that genuinely always catches my attention because it's like, I don't know how to feel about it. It's like, the cover is almost too simple, but it still somehow catches my eye every time I look at it. Even just the title, the concept of the story, yeah, everything about it, like, genuinely grabs my attention, but something just makes me never pull the trigger on actually picking it up and reading it. But maybe I'll change that this year. We'll see. Next up is The Trickster by Chris Curry and Lisa Dean. Speaking of Curry, that looks like Tim Curry there. Love the cover, though. I really enjoy, like, the really bright colors and... yeah, it really helps balance the heavy black and red that I think is just kind of really overdone in horror in general. So I think that's definitely a nice mix there. Next we have Tengu by Graham Masterton. Not Masterson, Masterton. Or Masterton in either. It is Masterton. I don't know why. I always want to say Masterston or something like that. I really don't know why. All right. Next is The Tender Seed by Harry Ringle. Love this cover. Oops, there goes that pile of books that just fell over. Kind of looks like Macaulay Culkin there, too. But I could be wrong. My wife always says I have a terrible... I'm terrible at comparing people to celebrities or whatever, like celebrity lookalikes. I'm just really bad at it, apparently, but... I don't know. That's what it looks like to me. Anyway, next up is the... excuse me. The Tapestry of Dark Souls in the Ravenloft series. So this is apparently kind of like a horror Dungeons and Dragons. But, yeah, I didn't know this was actually part of a series until I picked up I Lestat. That's part of this series, so. I think there's like 5 or 6 books in this series, I think. I'm not quite sure. Next up is The Spirit Wood by Robert Masello. Really like that cover. Even though it's a little dark, I like really like that just kind of lightness near the eyes here. But yeah, it looks to be like a, I can't remember the name. Is it a fawn? That's like the half man, half goat. That's what I think this story is about. But yeah, that's definitely one I want to get to too. That one looks great. Next up we have The Snake by John Godey. Nice cover, but this is one of the rare cases where I personally prefer the Book of the Month Club edition cover, where it's like the shadow of a snake on a golf course over like kind of with the city in the background. Really nice cover. I would pull it out of the bin that it's in right now, but that would mean I'd have to pause the video and all that. But maybe I'll do a... Actually, no. I already have a video up of the book club edition books I have. That's on my channel somewhere as well. It's one of the haul videos. Next up is The Sign of the Guardian by John Arthur Long. Pretty neat. Next we have Severed Ties by George E. Simpson and Neil R. Berger. At first, I thought this cover was just kind of bland, like really nothing exciting about it. But the more I kind of like dove into the details of it, it's actually pretty well detailed. Like you can see the blood is making bodies there. You could almost see the face in the handle, in the hilt of the sword there. Try to get it a little better focused if I can. There we go. But yeah, I really love the bright red on the white background. Really helps it stick out. Okay. Next up is The Seventh Child by Brooks Stanwood. I still remember when I first found this at a Savers. It was one of the first like horror books that was not like King or Ketchum or something that I found in the wild that I went ahead and picked up. And it's got some really nice step back art here. Who doesn't love creepy kids? Yeah, really nice step back art though. Let's see. Next up is The Serpent's Circle by Patrick Harper. Seems kind of fitting with the recent passing of the Pope and everything, so. Yeah, I got this from Brian's bookshop. I always shout him out. It's Brian's and No Bull on Instagram, so be sure to go check him out. So next up we have The Scream by John Skip and Craig Spector. Amazing cover. That's just super cool. But the cover's not even the best part of this one. The best part, it's honestly probably one of the most unique parts, most unique books in my collection. Alright, I gotta be really careful with this. It comes with a whole fold-out poster inside. Seriously, like just one of the coolest things I have ever seen in a book. Like, that is so cool. You know, it definitely reminds me of, like, getting Nintendo Power as a kid, or, like, PlayStation Magazine, and they had those cool fold-out covers that I used to hang on my wall and stuff, so. Next up is a book I'm definitely planning on reading this year, because I have wanted to find one in the wild for ages, and I finally did. And that is Ira Levin's Rosemary's Baby. It's a classic cover like I wanted. You know, I had found the sequel like years ago, which I had no idea there was a sequel, so I'm definitely pretty excited to finally have this in my collection. Quick water break. There we go. Alrighty, next up is The Playroom by Gloria Murphy. My latest book review. There we go. But yeah, I'll go ahead and toss a link in the description for the review of this if any of you are interested in checking it out. I personally loved it. I thought it was fun. Classic horror. But yeah, go check out my full thoughts on the book review. Next up is The Pines by Robert Dunbar. Very, very beautiful artwork by the incredibly talented Jill Bowman. She has done some of my favorite covers in literature. I believe someone is actually even has like a Kickstarter right now where it's going to be a collection of her work and like a history of her work. If I can find the link, I'll leave it in the description down below. I genuinely think it's a great idea, a really good Kickstarter idea. Jill's a wonderful person. She's in the retro horror paperback group, and she chimes in once in a while, but she's always very pleasant, always nice to people, so it's always nice when a talented person turns out to be a nice person as well. Which seems to be growing increasingly rare, unfortunately. Next up is Peregrine by William Bayer. Nothing too interesting here. I do kind of like the bird at the top, though. Reminds me of my own birds. Kind of hard to see, but... next up is Out of the Night by Patrick Whalen. This is just a really cool cover. Okay. Next up is The Others by D.M. Wind. I don't know, this one's kind of goofy, if I'm going to be totally honest. Like, I don't know, the panther just doesn't seem menacing in this picture. I think personally I would have slitted the eyes more and maybe kind of closed the jaw a little more to kind of give it more of a ready to pounce kind of look instead of a warning look, you know what I mean? I don't know. That's just me personally, though. I feel like the big bright eyes just kind of, I don't know, make it feel a little cartoonish to me. But next up is The Other by Thomas Tryon. Now, this is one I definitely want to get to at some point, because I've heard nothing but brilliant things about this book. And this can be my reader copy, since the copy my buddy Corey gave me is like splitting at the seam on the spine, which I don't mind. Like I said, I love it. It's a gift from a friend that will forever be part of my library. But now I can actually read the book. Next we have Oasis by Brian Hodge. Pretty cool cover for sure. All right. Next up is The Night of the Toy Dragons by Barney Cohen. Now, I love the title, love the cover, and even the concept sounds great. Unfortunately, a lot of people, like Nick from the Book Graveyard and one other person I can't remember, basically said like the monsters don't actually show up until like page 100, and this book is only about like 216 pages long, so I don't know. A neat thing though, it's even got these old school cigarette ads in them. I think that's pretty awesome. Next up, we have Night Glow by Martin James. Nice little cornfield action going on there. I really love like the crystallized look of the blades there. Like just really a really nice little detail with the purple there. You know what I mean? It kind of makes them like just look at that. That really pops. I think that's a brilliant little detail. Next up is Night Brothers by Sidney Williams. Now this, I believe, is a much better depiction of a panther on the cover. See, and it's strange because it's very similar to what was it? I can't even remember the name of the book already. But see, I feel like the mouth isn't as wide right here. It's definitely more narrowed in here, and I think that definitely adds more of an intensity to it. And I think the eye color is a much better choice with the green instead of the yellow. I think with the other one had the yellow, I think been a little muddier, I think would have worked better. But to me, this is definitely a great cover. Beautiful cover. Lots of detail. Very reminiscent of Ray Garton's Live Girls as well. Or The Entity by Frank DiFolita. Next up, we have Night by Alan Rogers. Not my favorite cover, to be totally honest. I'm not really crazy about the font. I think the title's way too big. Like, I think it's just trying to kind of like compensate for basically the massive amount of negative space that's left on the cover. Like, there's just nothing going on. You know, I think the eye and the lettering is very cool, but other than that, you know, it just, doesn't catch the eye. No pun intended, but. Next up is The Neighborhood by S.K. Epperson. This is a cover I love. Try to get it as best as I can with the wrapping on it and everything. There we go. That should be better. Yeah, sellers have always creeped me out. Especially like ones that have like outside doors to it. But yeah, love it. The hands, everything. The art style's beautiful. Yeah, definitely like that one. Next up is The Mime by Tony Profumo. See, now this is a cover that has a ton of negative space, but utilizes it very well. You know, I like that, you know, the mime is almost omnipotent within this cover. You know, there's no body per se. It's just like a floating head and hands to kind of, you know, give that illusion of it like an ultimate power puppet master kind of thing. So I really like that. And yeah, this was a nice gift from my wife from last year. I think she got it me got it for me for Father's Day, I believe. Let's see. Next up, we have Midsummer by Matthew J. Costello. Really nice cover. I personally think William Johnstone's Carnival cover is much better. But this is definitely pretty neat for something for the 90s. You know, it's definitely 90s, you can tell. But I love haunted carnivals, things like that, so I definitely plan on reading that this summer. That'll be a nice summer read. Let's see. Next up, we have Megalodon by Robin Brown. Love, love, love. Love this cover. This was another very nice gift from my wife for Father's Day last year. Absolutely love that cover. And if you look closely, you can actually see the artist hit his signature right in the reef here. Try to get it focused. Let's see if I can. It's a little hard to tell. But his name is in there. Let's see. Next up is Maynard's House by Herman Rocker. Interesting cover for sure. And I've heard this is a brilliant ghost haunted house story, so I definitely want to check this out as well. As much as I love my house covers, I love house stories even more. Next up is Mark of the Werewolf by Jeffrey Sackett. Now, that's a cover right there. That's how you do a werewolf cover. Classic werewolf look. Just lots of brilliant detail. You can see it's nice and embossed within the fur here. The fangs are embossed here. Just an overall really nice cover. Alrighty. Next up, we have The Manhood Ceremony by Ross Berliner. Love this cover. You know, I always love the almost photorealism. I'm not quite sure what this art style would be called, so if anybody knows, please let me know, because I'd love to refer to it correctly. Because it's like, I don't want to say it's photorealism, because I feel like that's like a direct one-to-one copy of a photo, where this is just kind of like, yes, it's a drawing, it's a painting, but it has, you know, it's grounded in realism. But anyway, yeah, I have a review of this up on the channel as well. Loved this book. I'm not going to give too much away. I definitely think you should either give it a read or go check out my video. I'll leave that in the description below. Next up is Limbo by Jan Laura. Now, I'm usually not a huge fan of the more... This almost seems a little more computerized instead of painted, but what year did this even come out? 1988. So I very much doubt it's computerized, but I don't know. I like the cover. I'm not saying I don't like it. I was just trying to say, like, I'm usually not big on more digitized art, which this kind of seems like. But I love it. Like, you know, it's weird that you rarely see a casket in horror literature on the covers. Like, I feel like that should almost be a staple within it, but it's very rare. So kudos to Limbo for doing that one. Let's see. Next up is Lifeblood by Lee Duigon. Love this cover. This is just such a badass cover. And I do want to read this because it's about an obese vampire haunting a town. Like, an obese vampire that's a doctor. Like, come on. That like almost sounds like a South Park episode. So, but yeah, I definitely want to check this out. I'm hoping it's better than the vampire story I'm reading now, but yeah, that'll be my next review. So, little hint for what's coming up. Try to guess it if you can. I will give you a hint. It's not a retro title. It is definitely more modern and written in at least within this century. Anyway, next up is Last Come the Children by David Hagberg. Kind of cheesy, but I like it. You know what I mean? It like doesn't try to take itself too seriously. Definitely has some fun with the cover, so I like that. All right, I need another water break here. Okay. Next up is Labyrinth by Eric Mackenzie Lamb. This sounds like a ton of fun. Like, I really want to get to this. Like, I love, like, Labyrinth type stories like this. Like, one of my favorite episodes of Batman the Animated Series as a kid was when Batman got trapped in that huge labyrinth and there was the Minotaur he had to escape. Yeah, I've always loved Labyrinth style, like, stories. Yeah, Labyrinth style stories. I love it. The traps, the kind of anticipation of who's going to make it out. And I love the cover. It kind of reminds me of, like, back in the day when I used to look at my dad's books in his drawer. You know, all of them had this kind of, like, really rough art style, gritty. And so, yeah, it's definitely kind of reminiscent for me, but I really like it, at least the art of it. It looks cool. Next up is The Kill Riff by David J. Shaw. Fantastic cover, and, you know, those who have watched my channel for a little bit, I'm not a big music buff by any means, but I'm not one to deny that this is just an absolutely badass cover. And it even goes over to the spine as well. A little bit even onto the back there, so I love when cover art wraps around to the back. Super, super cool cover. Next up is A Killing Frost by Christopher Leach. Love this cover. That is just, it's just awesome. I love how the title is, like, written in, like, fingerprints and stuff like that. Just really cool. I planned on reading, this was supposed to be my last winter read, but after the long winter we had, like, I was just over it. I didn't want to read winter. I didn't want to be in winter. I wanted nothing to do with winter anymore, so thankfully it's starting to really get nice out now, so hopefully winter's gone and done for a while. Next up is Jaws 2 by Hank Searles. Definitely kind of like a take on the classic original cover. There is actually a different version where there's a woman water skiing in front of Jaws here, which I don't believe there's any difference book-wise other than her being on the cover, so I want that cover, though. Next up is It's Loose by Warner Lee. And this is definitely a pretty interesting cover. For some reason, I get, like, heavy La Chupacabra vibes from it. But, yeah, I like the cover a lot. Love the color scheme, the font style. Just, like, it looks fun. It looks like a lot of fun. Next up, we have one of my crown jewels in my collection, and that is Isobel by Jane Parkhurst. That cover, I could gush about this cover all day long. It is just absolutely stunning. Just the attention to detail, the color scheme, just the setting it presents, like everything about it is just mind-blowingly good. It also has some gorgeous step-back art as well. Yeah, just a really beautiful book overall. I'm so happy to have that in my collection. Next up is Intruders, The Incredible Visitations at Copley Woods by Bud Hopkins. Pretty average alien cover. Nothing to super write home about. Next up is In the Name of the Father by John Zodro. Again, nothing super fancy. Next is In Darkness Waiting by John Shirley. I really like this cover, though. This is really nice. I like how, just a tiny bit of it is embossed here. You can see right around her nose, her lips. Just a little bit of embossing. And I've heard great things about this book as well, so I definitely want to get to that eventually. Let's see. Next we have Icefire by Robert C. Wilson. I remember finding this at a little free library when my wife and I went on a date 2 years ago. We went to a museum that had a observatory. And they had a free library right outside the doors, and I found that in there. So I was pretty excited. I think I also found The Southern Girl's Guide to Vampire Slaying by Grady Hendrix there as well. Next up is The Hypnotist by Brad Steiger. Interesting cover for sure. Again, I'm always a fan of the red and white. And I think the gold is a really nice touch as well. Okay, next we have another favorite cover of mine, The Hounds of Dracula by Ken Johnson. Really love that cover. As someone who's been bitten by a dog, a black dog specifically, you'd figured this would terrify me to look at, but I love it. I think it's super cool. Alrighty. Next up is Hot Blood, Crimes of Passion. Like a little bit of smut with your horror? Check out the Hot Blood series. There's plenty of it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Next up is Helter Skelter by Vincent Bugliosi with Kurt Gentry. Not good. Not really a stunning cover or anything. I haven't read this and I want to. I should really get to it. Next up is Hellstone by Steven Spruill. Definitely an interesting cover. I really like the hue of the blue. I feel like that's a color we don't really see a lot. Like, we see blue, but not that kind of almost cerulean color, I want to say. But I love the font. And again, it just looks like something fun. Next up, we have Haunted Houses by Richard Weiner and Nancy Osborne. Not my favorite house cover. I really don't like the... It's almost like a picture negative. I don't know. I think had they just kept like an actual picture of this house on the cover, made it a little grainy, I really think it would have made the cover stand out way more. So, again, not the worst cover, but probably not the choice I would have went with. Next up is Grizzly by Will Collins. Really nice cover. Very, very beautiful color. Yeah, cover. And I've heard quite a few people say the movie's actually pretty terrifying, even for, the age that it is, so. I don't know, I've been kind of tossing around the idea of making like a video series of comparing the book to the movie, but let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in. I'd definitely be willing to give it a shot if that's something people want to see, so let me know. Next up is The Godsend by Bernard Taylor. I really like this cover. I kind of like the scrolling credits. It's kind of Star Wars-esque there. It's got the red-tipped pages. Creepy kid on the front. I think that there's even there's a really nice like step back art here. Just really, really creepy. Super chilling. Love that. Next up, we have Ghost Train by Stephen Laws. And this is another cover I really like. Again, trains are not something you genuinely see within horror. This is not the best train cover I've seen. I don't own that one. I really want to one day, and I hope I do. But I do love this one. I really like that we get kind of like the point of view of seeing the train coming towards us and the tracks leading up. The tracks are nice and embossed, which is a great touch. The headlights of the train are embossed. Again, kind of over the red and black color scheme, but I think had they gone with like a more realistic color scheme, I think it really would have made the cover even better. But definitely a nice one. Next up is The Gatekeeper by Dana Reed. Cool cover. Nothing extravagant, but not dull by any means either. Let's see. Next up, we have The Fury by John Farris. Pretty cool. Again, I really enjoy the purple on this. Okay. Next up, we have easily one of my favorite books ever, Friend by Diana Henstall. Again, the cover's not magnificent by any means, but do not let that deter you from reading this absolutely brilliant book. Brilliant, brilliant book. It's like if you mixed Frankenstein with Romeo and Juliet. It's wonderful. I have a review on the channel. I'll leave that in the description below, but definitely check this book out. Please, please, please read this. It's so good. Especially the prose near the end of the book. Oh, brilliant. Some of the best writing I've ever read in my life. Next up, we have The Foundling by Frank Lauria. Pretty cool cover. It's almost like if an Amish kid found an electric guitar. And that's the evils of electricity. Let's see. Next up is Footsteps by Robert Irvine. Pretty interesting cover. I really like it. For some reason, it feels like it would be like a caveman horror story, which would definitely be an interesting concept for sure. I can't think of a horror story that involves a caveman that I can. Oh, yes, I can. Neanderthal. But I think this one would be really good if that's the case. Next up is Family Reunion by Joyce Harrington. A really nice cover. Again, something a little more on the modern side. I believe this was in the 90s, the late 90s. Oh, no, this is 1983. Wow. I'm really surprised by that, to be totally honest. Yeah, I'm genuinely surprised that's an early 80s cover. You know, usually the early 80s are still more among the hand-painted style. And this one seems to be a little more digitized. But if not, I mean, hey, kudos to the artist. That's brilliant. Yeah, nice embossed cover here. Again, something simple but very effective. Next up we have Evil is a Quiet Word by Theodis Carroll. Love this cover. I saw the co-author of Paperbacks from Hell, Will Erickson, he posted this on his Instagram page, and I instantly had to get a copy. There was no way I was ever going to find this in the wild, and but I knew I needed it. Not just for that great cover, but for this beautiful step-back art as well. I mean, it's literally the same as the cover, but still. Yeah. Just a really nice cover overall. Next up is Evil Intent by Bernard Taylor. Again, kind of goofy. Like, it almost seems like a Disney horror in a way. Yeah, just a little bit goofy for my taste. Next up is The Evil by Hugh B. Cave. Kind of hard to see with the wrapping around it, but I really don't want to have to take it out and put it back in. But I believe this is part of a trilogy. What is it? The Evil, The Cave, and Shadow of Evil or something like that? I have all of them, so I just have to see. I think Shadow of Evil is literally right behind me. ST, that's ST, She Wakes. Oh yeah, right here. Shades of Evil, that's what it is. A little bonus book here. But yeah. Anyway, next up is The Entity by Frank D. Felitta, which I had mentioned earlier. Stunning cover, like really beautiful cover. I love the photorealism of it. I just wish the book was as good as the cover. I don't have a review up of it on the channel just because it was like, I'm still trying to learn how to review a book that I wasn't a fan of without being like completely negative the entire time, because I just don't feel like anybody's going to enjoy hearing me constantly say negative things about a book I didn't enjoy, but I'm trying. Next up is Effigies by William K. Wells. Another beautiful cover. Really brilliant. Just so much detail. Wraps right around to the spine, to the back cover. Like I said, I love wraparound covers. That's like super eerie as well. There we go. Next up is Don't Look in the Mirror by Larry Weinberg. Next, we have the classic Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. Well, I've read Dracula, I've read Frankenstein, and this year I do plan on tackling Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know, I really want to give the classics a chance, you know, because I may very well be pleasantly surprised like I was with Dracula. Sorry, water break. Next up, we have Drawing Blood by Poppy Z. Bright. Again, not an overly great cover, but the concept sounds really nice. It kind of sounds similar to, I believe it's called The Cartoonist by Matt Costello. I don't own it, so I can't reference it right off the top of my head, but... Anyway, we have Dracula, Prince of Darkness by Martin H. Greenberg. Again, sort of goofy. It looks like David Schwimmer playing as Dracula. So it's like, I can't help but feel like if he was like teaching an apprentice vampire how to bite a neck, he would sit there behind him saying, "Pivot, pivot." Next up, we have The Doomsday Scroll by Barbara Rogers. So, incredibly, like, off the wall. No one's gonna get this reference. I doubt it. But, for some reason, when I look at it, it reminds me of Rolling Thunder for the Sega Genesis. Like, if you know, you know. That I really can't, like, explain it any more than that. If by some miracle you've played that game, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you have, please let me know. Nobody ever remembers that game. But, it's just like a random childhood memory that I have. Next up is Demon's Eye by Stephen Gresham. Love this cover. Again, I love basements. Well, I hate basements, but I love basement covers. And this one, again, has some very nice step back art here. For some reason, this kind of looks like it would be a Marvel villain. Next up is Demon Fire by Gary L. Holman. A horror book set in Hawaii. Who would have thought? Very nice cover, though. I love how the plants are all embossed. Nice color scheme. Like, it's dark without being, like, depressing or, like, simplifying the art. Let's see. Next up, we have Cutting Edge by Lisbeth Chance. Nice little cover. Nice and embossed everywhere. Really like that. Next we have Come 13 by David Silva. Very strange cover. I will certainly say that. Very, very strange. It's got nice detail. Certainly very detailed. Like, wings are not easy to do at all. Like, all those feathers there. I don't even want to know how long that probably took to do. Next up, we have Class Trip by Bebe Foss Rice. I have a review of this up on the channel, which I will go ahead and leave a link in the description down below. But this was a freaking blast. I loved Class Trip. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, if you want my full thoughts, go check out the video. Next up, we have The Ceremonies by Ted Klein, which I've recently been hearing more and more of Klein's name being tossed around and his books being praised pretty well. So, which is nice because the cover isn't great. It's too dark. It's just too dark in the metallicness of the cover makes it really hard to see any detail. Like, I think, yeah, see, this is the first time I'm ever even seeing this on this cover. I'll try to get it in there. But yeah, see, you can see that face right there. This is the first time I'm ever noticing that face on this cover. And it's just because it's too dark and just the metallicness of it just hurts my eyes and hides the detail of that. Next up, we have Boris Karloff presents More Tales of the Frightened by Robert Laurie. Nice cover there. Next up is The Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig. This was actually going to be the book I planned on reading next. I've read Wanderers by Chuck Wendig, and it's a fantastic apocalypse story. Definitely worth checking out. But yeah, this is definitely something I plan on getting to. Next up, The Bloodstone by Ken Yulo. I really like that cover. It kind of reminds me of kind of like the Brady Bunch intro screen. Like, that art style almost. Or like an 80s cartoon. Nice little step back art there. This I also believe is part of a trilogy. Next up we have Bloodroot by Thomas Mordain. Tree-worshipping druids set in Vermont. What's not to like? Really nice step back art, though, not gonna lie. I'll try to get it as best as I can here. Hard with the glare. Yeah, that looks awesome. Next up is Bloodletter by Warren Newton Beef. Which I really like this cover. At first, I thought it was kind of cheesy, but the more I look at it, the more it really has grown on me. Like, I really love the font style. I think the neon pink is a brilliant idea for horror, honestly. Like, it really contrasts with the black and the skin tone of the woman on the cover. I think it's gorgeous. Really nice cover. Next up is The Blooding by William Darrad. Now, this is definitely something I want to read. A Western with horror that's a Western horror. And it's even got a blurb, a little praise from William Peter Blatty on the back there, so it's gotta be good. Yeah, definitely gonna check that out this year. Next up is Berserker by Frank Speary. Nice little cover there. Okay. Next, we have The Bad Seed by William March. I know this has been made into a movie, but I've never seen the movie. Never trust kids with freckles. Next up is The Babysitter by Andrew Coburn. Love the cover on this. Like, love the rattle, the skeleton hand. The font is awesome. Yeah, really nice looking book. Next we have April Fool's Day by Jeff Rovin. Another movie that I have not seen, nor have I read the book. But I will say I was thrilled to have found it for $1 at the book sale. That's for sure. Alrighty, next we have The Amulet by A.R. Moreland. Really nice cover, honestly. It kind of reminds me of that Are You Afraid of the Dark episode with Tia and Tamara. God, I'm going to say their last name wrong. Is it Mowry? The girls from Sister Sister? Definitely reminds me of that for some reason. Well, not for some reason, because it's a very similar concept, but... Anyway, next up is Alien by Alan Dean Foster. Classic image, although I highly prefer the Book of the Month Club edition. Way, way better. Next up is The Alchemist by Leslie H. Whitten. Great cover. Like, I love the detail, the color scheme. Like, just really, really nice. Unfortunately, I've heard the book is terrible. Which is a shame, because it's huge. And there's nothing worse than reading, like, a 500-page bummer, basically. Next up is Abyssos by Raymond Hardy. Sweet cover. You know, I feel like this would be the cover of, like, an 80s metal band. Definitely pretty sweet. And last, but certainly not least, we have The Abyss by Ger Cunningham. Love how that jade drops down into a devil tail. That's really nice. But yeah, there it is, everyone. Another 100 horror books by another 100 authors that are not Stephen King. Yeah, it's honestly kind of mind-blowing to me just how vast the genre is. Like, I knew there was more than King. Like, I knew there was so much more, but like, even to just kind of like think that there's 100 horror books in general by 100 different authors is like, it's kind of mind-blowing for a genre that's such a black sheep in any type of media that it comes in. So to surpass 200 now is just like, whoa. Like, you know, it's just fascinating. And that's exactly why I started this whole journey, is to show everyone, you know, yes, King is brilliant. Love his stuff. He does write great stuff. But there's so much more out there. There are tons of authors that are just dying to be discovered, and stories that are begging for people to pick up and read them, that just don't get the chance because, you know, King and Kuntz are constantly shoved down our throats. So, again, no shade toward them at all. You know, they're huge players in the game. They're reasons why we have what we have today. But I really, you know, want to get the others that also helped horror get to be where it is today to get their recognition. So, yeah, that was awesome. I had a lot of fun doing it. Honestly, I'm trying to go for the road to 300. I think I can do it. And I'm going to try. I'm really going to try. But, yeah, that's going to be it for me today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. If you stuck it out this long, I really appreciate it. Please feel free to let me know what your favorite cover here was, if what your favorite story here was. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing from everybody. So yeah, give the video a like, subscribe for more content in the future, and be nice to yourselves. Have a good day, everyone, and I'll catch you later.